So here's a finished example of the type of painting I'm just about to start in stages. Sorry, that's behind glass, so it's got quite a reflection. Okay, so here we are. I've just drawn up the doorway here. You can see it very faintly. It's a mixture of, there's a couple of straight lines where I've used a ruler just to get things perpendicular, but most of it, if I can, is freehand drawn. Simple 1-point perspective. There's my vanishing point. Okay, so we're ready to go. Okay, so I've just put on the first wash of yellow there. And usually with this painting I'm actually doing what you might not tend to do with watercolour, is I'm reversing washes, so I'm going to go lighter on darker, which you can get away with to a degree. Just point out one thing, so look where I'm just letting the paint, this is still wet, I've just put it on, I'm just letting it collect and dry sort of naturally in the dips down here too. And that's just sort of condensing the paint particles, so it's making it naturally darker in those areas. So the next wash I've put on is just a very light grey, mixed from red, yellow and blue as I do, but sort of more cerulean base, so I've got a touch of sediment there. Again, I'm showing you these washes wet. This wash is arguable that you'll even see it when we come to the strength of the washes I'm putting on later, but I think it just begins to give me an idea of the shape of it. Just on these bits of plaster here, you can see how I'm highlighting the left hand side because that's where the sun's going to be falling. So that's wash number 2. Okay, so I've just added a tiny bit to the inside of the doorway there. I've just put a sort of light yellow wash on, just because what would happen, this door is going to be yellow again, is you can get a reflection of the light which will reflect on the white of the doorway on the inside of the door. So I'm just kind of trying to start that off, as well as just get some depth coming into here, because that's going to be very dark eventually. Okay, so I've put the basic wash of the inside of the door on. A couple of things here. These brush strokes, I'm just pulling the brush down in more or less one stroke, so you can see the sort of dry brush effect we've got there. And then on the inside of the door I used the same yellow, but I graded it out, so it's just paler at the bottom. I'll explain a bit more about that later. So with the doorway, what I'm doing is, there's less paint on the door to the bottom left down here, because I've got to be constantly thinking about the sunlight, where's the sun coming from, and what effect it's having on the door, on the paint, because we all know sunlight fades things. That will become apparent later when we put the shadow on. So yeah, with this picture the sun's going to be coming in at this angle. Okay, that's the way I'm working it. Okay, so the next colour I haven't decided on, but I'm sure you'll see shortly. Righto, so all I've done here is come in with a slightly darker grey up in under there and just getting a bit of contrast going on the doorway. Put the beginnings of what will be the steps in, coming down onto the pavement. Changed the colour down on the actual road down there, just added a bit more blue. Difference here as well between vertical and horizontal brush marks. Okay, so that's the pretty much the body sort of colour on. I opted for a red there. Next up I'm going to start sort of applying a little bit of dirt, so I'm going to have a very light brown wash of mud basically. Okay, so there's the first sort of wash of brown. Now, stress at this point, this painting sort of seems to be inching along, but it's the shadow that will do it, and we'll get there soon. So I'm just going to deepen that up now. Okay, so that's deepened it up now. So the next wash is just going to completely transform this. I'm going to put the most of the shadow on, which I'll actually draw in now, and I'll video that, so we'll have a look. Okay, so I've started to put the roof in up here. This is the shadow from the tiles. Okay, so now I'm going to bring this part of the shadow in here. So what I'm trying to do here is just mirror, well, I'm not trying to do it, I am doing it, mirror the dents in the wall into the shadow. So I've drawn this on, cheating, and so just move that down like that. Here's the telegraph wires coming in. This is the tricky bit with watercolour, is that everything has to interlink and to join up, so there's no stopping. That's one half of the door done. I'm going to move into the middle of the doorway now. This bit's a bit complicated, so I'm not filming and painting at the same time while I just bring these telegraph lines across the door. Well, I wasn't going to show you, but the trick is I've got to match up these the vertical and horizontals together while everything's still wet, which kind of isn't so easy. Not even filming the right bit. Okay, so just on that bit there, I sort of faded, sorry, on this bit here I just faded, where's the brush? I faded this out so you can see the previous washes, and then just dripped more dark in there, so not so straightforward that. Okay, so it's all coming together. I've just got to finish off a bit on the right hand side. Okay, so here it is with the shadow on now. So I've got one more wash to do, which is just essentially going in with a darker brown. The tricky bit is going to be in here, getting those contrasts right inside the doorway. But it'll certainly, what'll end up happening is it'll give it some real depth when I finish that. It's gone well so far, but you see how that purple shadow really brings everything together. Okay, so that's the finished piece. Yeah, pretty pleased with that. I was aiming for a sort of very sun-bleached, washed out effect. I think I got it. We'll just get a bit of a close-up there. So really you can see when I went into inside the doorway there, I really went quite dark. I think the problem is the weather's got a bit dark outside. So here we've got this contrast, light, dark, light, dark. So I've sort of swapped them over halfway down. So if you've got any questions, just pop them up and I'll happy to answer. Alright, that's it.